Sadly, I can remember the end of the arcade days as if it were yesterday. Yes, it is nice to see the rebirth of them with this barcade craze that has been going on in the past few years, but it's just not quite the same, is it? The developers of Steel Assault are also not ready to let go of those memories, as they have created a game that is very reminiscent of 2D action arcade games of the past. Welcome everybody to I Dream of Indie. My name is Old Gamer Joe, and today we are taking a look at Steel Assault on the Steam PC platform. The first thing I have to say is that, boy, have they really nailed the look of an old arcade game. The filter that they've thrown over this title, it has that washed out look, but in a good way. Really quite incredible. In Steel Assault, you'll be playing as lead character Taro Takahashi, who's on a quest to stop the evil General Magnus Pierce. That's really all there is to the story, but it sure is told through some awesome arcade-style cutscenes. You can hop right into the action with the standard mode that will take you through 5 different chapters, or you can hop into an arcade mode. You're not going to want to do that at first, though, trust me, because, well, if you die in the arcade mode, it's all the way back to the beginning of a chapter. Yeah, it's brutally tough. In fact, the game even warns you that. Before you do any of that, though, you might want to hop into the game's tutorial, which is quick but effective. You begin by learning how to move. Of course, you use the stick or the D-pad, whatever you prefer, and you have a jump and a double jump in this game, as well as a standard attack that can be used at close range and at a little bit of distance as well. You also have a downward strike, but what does help to set this game apart a little bit is the zipline mechanic, which can be fired off in different directions and helps you to reach higher areas. As you'll find out in some of the game's later levels, you're going to need to master this mechanic so that you don't take serious damage, as certain levels do have a scrolling screen and you might have to be firing upwards in order to survive. The zipline can be fired in 8 different directions, and it can also cancel out certain projectiles. Steel Assault is all about the action and really not much else, and you wouldn't have it any other way in an arcade game, right? There's tons of explosions, lots of enemies heading your way, and a good challenge here, but plenty of difficulty options as well. You can choose very easy, normal, or an expert mode if you really want to challenge yourself without going to the arcade mode, which is just insanity. A little bit intimidated, I must be honest. I started out with the easy mode, but I'm kind of thankful that I did. It really did help me to get used to these levels, and I think my future runs will go a lot smoother because of that. As I completed the easy run and dove back in for the normal run, I found that I wasn't struggling too much, and that's thanks to a pretty decent checkpoint system that won't set you all the way back to the beginning like the arcade mode does. On my first completion of the game, I did manage to unlock some border art, so that was nice. I imagine at the higher difficulties, you'll unlock even more and more. And outside of just using your standard attack and that zip line, well, you will get a few power-ups here or there. Not a ton of variety to them. The one that I was mainly coming across was a lightning attack that shoots out a bit further along with your standard attack, so that's kind of cool as well. Boy, the screen can really get full of stuff in this game. You've obviously noticed by watching this video that there's a lot going on in this title, and it looks great in motion with that beautiful pixel art, a 16-bit style utilized here, those great cutscenes that I touched on earlier, huge bosses, massive explosions. Even though there aren't a ton of chapters in the game, they do a good job of mixing things up, so at times you might find yourself on a machine gun trying to blast away at robots that are flying through the sky, and it all just looks and sounds fantastic as well. Yes, the soundtrack here does not disappoint. It is adrenaline fueled. I guess that's the best way that I could describe it. I almost got a little bit of a Mega Man X vibe out of some of these tracks. Very industrial sounding, very electronic, but great melodies, and they fit into the background just perfectly with the mix of explosions and gunfire. It all works wonderfully together to make a fantastic visual and audio presentation. Overall, if you're a fan of classic arcade-style action games, then this one's going to be an easy recommendation. There's lots of great platforming here. There's plenty of huge bosses for you to take on. Those 16-bit style graphics work perfectly in this post-apocalyptic world. There are some decent options here for screen resolutions as well, so you can really try to mimic that old-school arcade CRT look. And there's a casual run here if you go looking for it, or there's also a very hard hard arcade mode that will challenge you to no end. Here's my question though, where the heck is the multiplayer mode? How is this not a 2-player game? Is it really single player? Can I unlock it or something? Please tell me I can, because that's a huge disappointment. This is a game that would work really well with a co-op partner, and that's not an option. Still, old school arcade fans are going to find a lot to like with this one, and tons of explosions and maybe expletives as well, depending on what difficulty you're playing on. Thank you so much for watching the latest video from I Dream of Indie. We would now like to take a moment to pay tribute to our great indie warriors who support us through channel memberships. Mitchell Hall, Bunny, Kevalo, Bill Tikaz, Christian Cruz, Chris Jackson, Nathan Moore, Peach, Adriana Amato, CJR, PSC, C Coil, Skepticism, Jen Rose, Jesse, CPM, Julian Kolbus, and JRS the 8th. Thank you so much for all you do for independent developers, publishers, and for I Dream of Indie. Everybody else, please head down to the description box below. Let's defeat the gaming echo chamber and bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming.